Hi, everyone, welcome to Style 3D channel. In this video, you will learn the thought process behind creating intricate clothing. First, let's take a look at the final product of this Lolita dress. We can enable ray tracing rendering to observe the overall rendering effect of the clothing. Zoom in on the 3D viewport to examine the details of this outfit. Next, let's use a blank model to discuss the specific craftsmanship of clothing details and the process of applying clothing materials. Now, let's go through the specific crafting process of the clothing from top to bottom. The creation of this type of collar can be achieved by using a long pattern. On this pattern, evenly spaced internal lines are added, and corresponding folding effects are applied. Next, let's examine the sewing lines, which are sewn segment by segment rather than all at once. Next, let's take a look at how the gem decoration is added to this collar. We open the top stitch window and observe that the type of top stitch added here is OBJ. Additionally, we can add another OBJ format model file in this section. Next, let's examine the sewing method for this bow tie. It can be observed that the bow tie is crafted using a combination of fixed pins and short sewing lines. Take a closer look at the sewing technique applied to these sewing lines. Next, let's take a look at the small pendant on the chest. Open the trim window, and we'll notice that this pendant is actually an earring. Click on the Resource Library button here, then click on the small cloud icon in the upper right corner to open our official resource library. You can choose a content you like from here and add it to your work. Next, let's examine how the folds on the chest are created. We can see that there are many internal lines on this pattern. And when we look at the sewing lines, the differences in the dimensions of the pattern result in a significant disparity in the lengths between the sewing lines. This disparity contributes to the creation of the fold effect. Now, let's take a look at this section. We can see that the fold effect here is also achieved through an extra long pattern and the disparity in sewing line lengths. The metallic effect on top of this is created through top stitching, and we can examine the specific settings of this top stitching. We can observe that the values for metalness and glossiness of this top stitching are increased, contributing to the metallic effect. The gem decoration behind it is similar to before, using an OBJ type top stitch, with various parameters adjusted to achieve the desired effect. We can see that the ruffled edge on the sleeve and the folds at the waist are also created through the disparity in sewing line lengths. Next, let's take a look at how the small pearls on the abdomen are created. We can see that these are buttons added to the garment. Open the button window and the resource library, where you can choose and add buttons that you like. The top stitching on the waist is created using the same method as before. Next is the creation method for the waistband. We can see that the waistband is sewn together from several small patterns, fitting closely to the curves of the avatar's waist. Next is the creation method for the bubble sleeves. We can see that here, too, the sewing line lengths are created using the disparity in the lengths of long patterns, providing structural support. An additional layer of patterns is added as an outer layer for decoration. The gathering in the sleeves is created through a combination of the elasticity of internal lines in the pattern and the disparity in sewing line lengths. Let's take a look at the sewing method for the bow tie on the sleeves. The gloves are made using pattern pieces shaped like hands. The ring on top is also created using button materials, with a circular pattern piece serving as the ring, and a metallic-like material added to the back. Next, let's look at the skirt. The ruffled edges on the skirt surface are created using the disparity in sewing line lengths. The puffed-up effect is achieved through the use of a petticoat. Let's examine the attribute settings for the fabric used as the petticoat. By adjusting various attributes, you can make it stand firm and create the desired effect. The decorative element around the waist is created using numerous small cross-stitch lines in the middle. Of course, it is also necessary to add a certain amount of length disparity to them. Next, we are going to add materials to this outfit. First, let's take a look at the first material. This is its texture map, and we'll drag it to the corresponding position. At the same time, we can individually add a normal map, or simply click the Use Auto-Generated Normal Map button. Next, we add a displacement map, which is a grayscale map that can alter the specific shape of the model. This map can be computationally intensive and is not strictly necessary. Let's zoom in to see the effect and find that it's not very satisfactory. We can go to the fabric properties to change the material size. And we can see that the pattern becomes much more detailed. Next is the creation of the lace edge. We'll add a transparent map to it. This is also a grayscale map, where black represents transparency and white represents opacity. Then, we'll add normal and displacement maps to enhance the details. Adjust the sizes of the various maps. Open the ray tracing mode to see the effect and find that it's not satisfactory. Let's go and modify the size of the normal map. Now we can see that the current effect is satisfactory. Let's continue by adding the next material. Take a look at the texture map for this material and continue with the same steps as before. Here, I've changed the color and increased the density of the checkered pattern by modifying the material size. Open the ray tracing mode to see the fabric effect, and it looks good. Next, for the material on the chest, I wanted to have a semi-transparent effect, so I added a transparent map to it. After adjusting the material, open the ray tracing mode to see the effect and change the color to match the overall style of the outfit. Then, change the color of the initial fabric as well. Next is the long and repetitive process of adding materials. You can actively explore different fabric property settings to achieve various interesting effects. So, let's speed up the process while listening to music. We'll cover some interesting settings later on, so keep on watching. During the process of editing materials, it's advisable to frequently open ray tracing rendering to see if the added materials achieve the desired effect in the final rendering. Let's take a look at this set of textures together. It's one of my favorites. This set of textures uses a metal map, which is also a grayscale image where black represents low metalness, and white represents high metalness. Change its transparency and color to give it a slightly transparent effect. Next, let's continue adding other materials. Here, let's take a look at this set of rings. It uses the fabric I mentioned earlier, and we can achieve a better effect by modifying the intensity value of the texture. Open ray tracing to see, and we'll notice that the rings look very nice. The materials are finally applied. Let's open the ray tracing rendering to see the final result. Overall, the creation of this complex outfit is actually composed of many simple operations. When you see those amazing works, in addition to marveling at them, you can also think about the clever techniques they used. The materials used in this outfit are mostly from the official material library. Therefore, you can use the ideas from this video as a guide and freely experiment to create your own unique pieces. By skillfully and boldly applying these techniques, you can create some really cool pieces too. That's it guys, and I hope some of the tips will help your modeling work. If you like what we do, please liking, commenting and sharing this video. Thanks so much for watching and I will see you in next video. Goodbye.